If you love podcasting as much as I do, you may be considering starting your own. Starting a podcast has been one of the best decisions I have ever made, but getting started can feel overwhelming. Buzzsprout is the easiest and most professional way to start a podcast. Buzzsprout has helped over 100,000 people launch their own podcasts, including me. Buzzsprout will launch your show on all of the major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play, to name a few. You also get a podcast website, audio players that can be dropped into other websites, and stats of who is listening, and so much more. Buzzsprout also publishes blog posts, podcasts, and YouTube videos every week. They are great tools and have useful information from expert podcasters. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in our show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that I sent you, and it supports my show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, listeners, I'm Amber.
And I'm Naomi, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Hi,
that
sister.
Was awesome. Hey. Hey, soul sister. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. It's been a long week. It's been a long week. And I've been super distracted because I've been spending a lot of time on the Twitters. So, well, I took it upon myself, to support the cause, and I went ahead and fired up that Crime, Wine, and Chaos Twitter account. So now there's stuff going on the Twitters for the podcast. It's my pleasure. I mean, I already waste half my life on the socials anyway. I might as well do some good while I'm at it. So, anyway, I've been sucked into the true crime community of Twitter, and Sissy, it has been a week for true crime, man. Week.
Yeah.
Between,
fill me in.
Well, I mean, okay, this is going to air late, so who knows what kind of information we'll have, by the time this podcast actually hits the streams. But we've got the probable cause affidavit was released on Richard Allen for his arrest in the Delphi murders, which was very, very interesting. And there was a lot of new details in there that nobody had known before. Definitely feeling like we talked about this. We really hope they have more than what was in the probable cause affidavit. There's definitely some chatter that it's likely that there is more evidence. They just used as much as they needed in order to secure an arrest warrant. So yeah. I don't know what we'll see. I know they're also trying to get a change of venue and trying to put in some kind of gag order. His attorneys have filed for a gag order and a change of venue. So that trial date is set for, I think, the 10th of January for the judge to rule on that. Then there was a very famous, and I feel bad because I didn't write this down and I don't have the name off the top of my head, but there was a very famous missing child, missing little girl that had been missing for 51 years.
Oh my gosh.
And she was found alive through DNA this week.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What?
An abducted little girl, abducted 51 years ago, was found alive and reunited with her family after 51 years this week.
Holy shit. Did she know she was abducted, or was she just living?
I don't know. I really feel bad. I haven't deep dived into this story, so you can go look it up. It would be really easy for you to find. So that happened. The famous unidentified boy in the box.
Yes.
They know who he is.
Oh.
They have identified him as well through DNA. They have not released his identity. They're going to release his identity next week, I think, but they did announce that they know who he is.
Oh, man. I'm glad that one of us is keeping up on it. I've been in the I'm moving vortex, and I don't even know what day it is. So thank you for that.
It's Thursday. Welcome. Welcome to Thursday.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
And then, of course, the Idaho 4 and what's going on in Moscow, which is just, crazy pants. They had a vigil today for the 4 victims. I made a joke on Twitter. I couldn't help myself. The county prosecutor did an interview last night, and then the police department had to issue a statement to clarify that some of the things that the prosecutor said were not true. And so they're looking very like Keystone Cops over there. And the prosecuting attorney literally looks like Santa Claus undercover, like he's trying to not be recognized as Santa Claus. And so anyway, it's like people's worst fears, I think, are maybe, partially maybe true, that, this small Idaho police department in this small county in Idaho is in over its head with this case.
Well, you see that all the time. And then it turns into like not wanting to relinquish control, and it really needs to be about what's best for justice.
Right. Well, here's the thing, and this ties back to the Delphi case, because I know that the police department in Moscow has called in help from the FBI, which is smart, as did the cops in Delphi. But there was also an article that came out today. I tweeted it out on the Crime-Wide Chaos account that
I saw that.
The Richard Allen was actually interviewed in 2017, and because of a civilian FBI employee misidentifying it when they filed it in the computer, nobody knew about this interview with this guy who is quite almost possibly the killer of these two girls. And they had talked to him and had evidence of him 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was an FBI employee.
Yeah. Not to make any excuses for that, but there was nothing that was scarier, like in my time working in that field, than clerical errors, and really how easy they are to make. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but like in a case like this, can you?
In any case where there's a victim, no.
I know you just can't afford. We're talking about somebody who knows who else could have or has been brutally murdered since then, because 5 years have gone by.
I know. You've got a lot of hands in the pot, and it needs to be a very well-oiled machine with communication and how they're storing their data and all of that. It just really doesn't take much for there to be a clerical error.
Sure. So it basically, the article said that because they started over from scratch, not from scratch, but they did one of those, clear the decks. Let's pretend like this is a brand new case. Let's start from the bottom and work our way back up. And then that's when they found this documentation of this interview with Richard Allen.
Yeah. I think I can understand. I'm trying to wrap my head around. I think I can understand that. There were times, even like much, much smaller scale, but times at the court where like a case had been on the, on our caseload for so long, and hearing after hearing after hearing, that I couldn't even understand what was happening with it anymore.
Right.
And I would take like a couple of days and go back to the very beginning and write notes. Because that was the only way that I could figure out, like, where are we at on this case?
Right. So
oh God. Wow.
I know.
But I just can't, whoever that person was that did that, I can't even imagine.
No.
I can't.
My God. They didn't name them, obviously. It was like this unnamed employee. Like, I don't want to. Thank you for small mercies, right?
Oh, shit. God. Wow.
Oh, yeah. And that's just like the highlights of this week. There was a bunch of other stuff. So there's just a lot happening, a lot going on. And some DNA continues to close some cold cases for us, which is always incredible. There was one up here, a local one. They just arrested a guy for a 1998 murder of a young woman, I think in Snohomish County, who met somebody like through a phone line or something. She was a teenager.
Gosh, I remember
she
those.
She was killed with an axe.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they arrested a guy, and it was all through DNA. They got that guy through DNA. Yeah. So and it might have been that familial DNA kind of stuff that, that's like the hardcore deep dive stuff they have to do.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, lots of stuff going on. What are you drinking today, Sissy?
Thank you for asking. I'm having one glass of a white that is Karen Birmingham. It's a Pinot out of Clarksburg, California. It's very good. I'm sticking to one glass because after this episode, I'm taking another load up to my new house, which thankfully is 3 minutes away around the corner, but still, it's a lot. But yes, we got a house.
You got keys and everything.
We got keys. We've got all the things. We're ready to rock and roll. So
that is awesome.
The search is over. Now the physical work. The emotional work is done. That was a roller coaster. Jesus Christ.
So right after we're done recording, you're going to pack up the studio and go set up the studio first, right?
No, the studio is going to stay here. Actually, our cousin Jeremy, who is an audio engineer and currently at the UW to become an even better audio engineer, texted me and was like, please, 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 can I set up your studio? Because he's never had the opportunity to properly set up a studio. And I was like, yeah, of course. And then he was on like Redfin or Zillow or something and was like, is this room, like he's showing me the picture, is this room the studio room? I'm like, that's the mud room. I'm like, no. He's like, oh, okay. There's like no outlets in there. I'm like, that wouldn't really work.
He just like, shows up with like 2 giant rolls of like egg crates foam.
Yes. I think that might be what happens, and I'm here for it.
And like a staple gun. Like
yeah. I think that probably be the last thing to be set up just because of, all the things, transferring of internet and all the things. I might be podcasting in an empty apartment for a while. But so anyway, I've got a bummer of a crime today.
Great.
I was supposed to try and find something lighthearted. And I just
There's no time for that. No, it's fine. I get it. There's no time for that. There's no time for fun time crime.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I'm going to give everyone like fair warning. My chaos is also a big time bummer. So strap in, guys. We're going to just bring it down and we're going to keep it down the whole way through. This is going to be low.
Get low. Here we go.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm going to tell you about Brianna Denison.
Okay.
So it is Sunday, January 20th, 2008. And Jessica Deal and Katie Hunter and Brianna Denison, they're all 3 good friends and they're all college students, doing their thing. And the 3 of them decide to go back to Katie's house and sleep there for the night.
Where are they in college at?
So this is taking place in Reno. Brianna actually doesn't go to college in Reno. She grew up there. She is home on a Christmas break from college in California. Okay. And these are her girlfriends.
Got it.
So Brianna, they stay the night at Katie's. Brianna decided to sleep on the couch. And when Jessica and Katie get up in the morning, Brianna isn't there. Mm-hmm. And at first they weren't concerned. They thought maybe she went upstairs in the middle of the night to go into one of the spare rooms. But then they start looking around the house and they realize that she's nowhere, but all of her belongings are still there. Her clothes, her cell phone, her purse, and
So she
gone.
Did not run out for some Starbucks.
Nope. No. So at around 10 a.m., Katie calls Brianna's mom, Bridget, and Bridget is immediately alarmed because Brianna doesn't have a car with her. It's winter. It's cold outside. Her shoes are still at Katie's. Like, she has none of her stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, even though Reno is in the desert, like, the desert gets fucking cold. Especially when the sun is down. It is so cold.
Yes.
Especially in the winter. I've done drives through those Southwest deserts in the wintertime, and they are freezing, literally.
Really? Mm-hmm. I have not been to Reno yet. I kind of want to check it out because it's like old people Vegas, and that sounds like more my speed.
So sidebar, my hairstylist, Michael, he's approaching retirement, and he is actually considering buying his retirement home in Reno because he has it on good authority from another friend of his that Reno is like up and coming. So I used to call Reno like Spokane with casinos, but apparently sometime in the last few years, a tech sector has actually popped up in Reno. And with it has come some hippization. maybe gentrification. But anyway, there's like money in Reno now, and the casino aspect of Reno has kind of been marginalized a little bit in favor of this growing tech sector and some really apparently nice neighborhoods to live in outside of the city.
Wow. Interesting. Good to know. Wow.
Still worth visiting, though. Still worth visiting. It's not a big city, but you do get the a little bit of the Vegas without the hustle and bustle of Vegas, you know?
Yeah, the hustle and bustle of Vegas is too much for me.
It's a lot.
I get overstimulated.
So, she's missing. She has no shoes. It is January in the desert, and everybody is worried.
Yep. So a few minutes after they call Brianna's mom, they also realize that there is blood on the pillow that Brianna was using on the couch. So she calls Bridget back, and she's hysterical.
Do we know how much blood? Was it nosebleed blood or crime scene blood?
I don't know, but I would imagine that if it was missed based on just sort of a cursory search, it couldn't have been. It wasn't
a lot. Yeah,
they would have seen that, I would think.
Right.
So Bridget starts heading over to the house, and Katie calls 911, and 2 detectives come out to the house, and right away it's obvious that this isn't a missing person who just left on her own. And Bridget is hardcore, making sure that her daughter's disappearance is covered on the news. Police are searching everywhere in dumpsters, lifting manhole covers, scouring the streets, but there is no sign of Brianna. Bonkers. To have your friend gone when you wake up in the morning?
Gone when No, I can't imagine, Amber. No.
Okay. God. Okay, I won't ask then. So, they send the pillowcase to the crime lab, and it was determined that there was mascara on the pillowcase, along with obvious bite marks and the blood stain.
Bite marks?
And yes. So
on the pillowcase?
Yeah. Huh. What they determined was that the pillow was pressed hard against her face, and and possibly she got a nosebleed or something from it, but the biting was maybe to alleviate she was being smothered.
Yes.
So Brianna was beautiful. At the age of 6, her dad passed away really suddenly, and her younger brother at the time was just an infant. So her mom said that the 3 of them were just really, really close. Brianna was a rule follower, and she was always there for her mom. After high school, she moved to California to attend Santa Barbara City College, and she had a dream of working with kids, and she was studying to become a psychologist. She had a steady boyfriend, and it was winter break, and she was back in her hometown of Reno to visit her friends and family. So, detectives retraced Brianna's steps from the day and the night before. So starting on Saturday, January 19th, Brianna was at her mom's house that morning. She was doing her laundry and just hanging around the house in her sweatpants. And she had plans to meet up with her friends for a concert that night.
Does she have a cell phone? It's 2008, right? Is that ubiquitous cell phone time yet? Okay.
Yeah. Her cell phone was at the house in the morning.
Oh, right.
When she was gone too.
Okay.
Yeah. So, at 9 p.m., Brianna went into her mom's room, gave her a hug, let her know she was leaving, and asked her mom if she wanted her to call and check in later that night. And her mom was like, no, because she knew that she was staying the night at KT's house. And she was like,
how old is Brianna? 20?
She's
21?
19.
Oh, no. Okay.
So by 10 o'clock, KT and Brianna are having a blast at the concert. And around midnight, they met up with Jessica.
Okay.
So all 3 left the concert together on a shuttle bus, and they were dropped off at the Sands Regency Casino Hotel. KT said there was nothing suspicious or out of place. They were dropped off there. And around 2 a.m., Jessica decides that she's tired, and she heads back to KT's house to go to bed.
Do we know how she got there? Did she take a cab?
Well, yes. Oh. Jessica went outside, and even though she could have walked back to KT's house, she said it was so cold that she flagged down a random guy in an SUV and got a ride.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know.
Jessica, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. She later admits that this was not a smart decision. Katie and Brianna went on to have breakfast at the casino diner, and police were able to get the video footage from the security camera that showed that that's what they were doing. And that would be the last image of Brianna before she disappears. So after breakfast, a friend dropped them off at Katie's house. It was around 3:30 a.m. Brianna wanted to be able to call her boyfriend without disturbing anyone, so she decided to sleep on the couch rather than go into one of the spare bedrooms. This is creepy. The couch was right in front of the front door, which was entirely glass paned. So you could just look into the house and see her sleeping on the couch.
What?
Isn't
Who
that
has a
spooky?
glass paned front door? I mean, I don't like
It was
that.
like, I don't either. I think like not the door proper, but like all around the door.
Oh, sure,
You know?
sure. Uh-huh.
I think that's so creepy for the couch to just be right there and people can see you
That's strange.
and you're sleeping.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Mm-mm.
Also SUV guy. I've already made a note of SUV guy.
Right.
Because I know that these gals figured out a way to be loaded, even though they're not all 21. They were probably drinking somehow. They're pretty. They probably got away with it. Like, bat some eyes or get someone else to buy booze for them or whatever, or bring it in a flask. There's creative ways to do it. So they were probably drinking. They were at the casino. Mm-hmm. Jessica probably got in this guy's car and yapped her lips off because she wasn't thinking, because she'd been drinking, and said things about her and her friends and where they're staying without considering that she was giving some stranger all the information they needed.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely circle back to SUV guy.
Yep.
So yeah, she's sleeping right in front of where people can see her. KT also said that it was common practice to treat their living room area like a hotel lobby. Like they left the front door unlocked and they would lock their individual bedroom doors.
What?
Yeah.
Like a hotel lobby? That's how she described it?
Yeah, I get the impression that because these are like college kiddos and a college town, that they have like, hey, if you ever you could just walk in and crash. It doesn't matter. Like that kind of vibe. I know.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I mean, look, I feel like that's exactly the kind of scenario we're talking about here with the Moscow murders.
Mm-hmm. I know.
There's this house of girls, or young women who are all in college, feeling like they're safe in this college town with their college friends. And those doors weren't locked. There was no forced entry on that murder.
No,
yep.
I know. It's so scary. So yeah, they locked the individual bedroom doors. Around 4 a.m., Katie tells Brianna that she's going to bed, and her bedroom was right next to the living room. When the police looked at Brianna's phone, it showed the last contact was a text that went to her boyfriend at 4:23 a.m. And then it was 9 a.m. when Jessica and Katie got up and saw that Brianna was no longer there.
So 4.5 hours between her last text and the discovery that she was gone. That's a decent window.
Yeah. In addition to the blood, police found evidence that the back door had been opened. And so they collect touch DNA from the handle of the back door, and the DNA didn't match anyone in the house.
But they did find DNA there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's also we are talking about, you were just saying, an open door policy on a college house where who knows how many friends have come and gone through that door.
Oh my God. Probably so many.
Right?
Right?
I
know.
That's almost useless DNA at that point.
Yeah. So Brianna's family sets up a command post at the casino, and hundreds would come out every day to help search for her. Police release an image of the SUV that Jessica accepted a ride from and urged whoever this man was to come forward. And within days, this man did contact the police and said, yeah, that was me that gave her a ride home. And he gave a DNA sample and he was cleared.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. The previous month, there was a stranger abduction and a sexual assault in the same neighborhood. In this assault, in the early morning hours, a 22-year-old foreign exchange student was attacked in a parking garage on the University of Nevada, Reno campus. He grabbed her across the chest from behind with one hand and cupped her nose and mouth with the other. She went unconscious from being smothered and woke up in a vehicle. And then she was sexually assaulted and then dropped off back at campus.
What?
Uh-huh. Parking garages are fucking creepy too. I hate them.
Yes, no, they're the worst.
They're the worst. Yeah, that's spooky. The suspect told her not to look at him, so she didn't look at his face, but she did know that he was white, that he had thick fingers. He didn't have any kind of an accent. She was also able to give a lot of detail about the inside of the car, that the police were able to determine that it sounded like what she was describing was a Tacoma pickup truck. She also saw a baby shoe on the floor of the car.
What?
And yeah.
Ew.
I know.
That makes me really uncomfortable.
Well, yeah.
Keep going.
I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
And her attacker kept her underwear.
Fuck it.
I know. God, fuck right off. But yeah. She did a rape kit, and so they were able to collect a sample of this attacker's DNA. And when the lab compared that sample to the one taken off the back door at KT's house, it was a match.
No.
Your face right now.
Your face right now.
Oh my God. I know. I'm on the edge of my seat and I know what happens. I'm spooking myself out.
This doesn't keep going.
Okay. So 4 days after Brianna's disappearance, the police go to the media and release the information that they knew about their suspect based on what the first victim had remembered and the DNA profile. So it's a white male between the ages of 28 and 40, between 5'6" and 6 feet tall. He drove an extended cab, Tacoma pickup. Then another woman comes forward and says that she was attacked back in October of 2008. So like 3 months prior.
Okay.
She didn't want to go through having a rape kit done, but when she heard about Brianna's story, she knew that she had to come forward. So she said that she too was attacked in the parking garage on campus, which was just a few blocks from KT's house. He grabbed her from behind, threw her to the ground, held a gun to her head, and raped her.
Ugh.
And he also took her underwear. Motherfucker. So this victim did actually see the man's face. So
I think I know the story.
Stop it. Is that why you had the long pause? Like I could see.
No, I just
the wheels turning.
I just figured it out. I think I just figured it out just this moment. But keep going. Because this is a good one. If it's the one I think it is, this is a good one.
What if it's not? And then you're like,
then it's still a good one. Keep going.
Okay, so she meets with the sketch artist. They release a sketch to the public. But the police do not release the information that the suspect is taking the underwear. Like, that's the thing they keep in the back pocket.
Right.
All three crimes were in a 400-yard radius, and people were scared shitless.
Yeah, that is like a really... That's a hunting ground.
Yeah.
Specifically, yeah.
This is just like with Gainesville, where it's like a college town, and parents are pulling their daughters out of the university. They're selling out of deadbolts and tasers and all the things, right?
Guns are flying off the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The crime lab compares the suspect's DNA to 3,000 samples, and they don't get any match. What the fuck? Then they look at all the registered sex offenders in the area, and for any of the sex offenders in the area that didn't have a DNA profile in the system, they start knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And they receive 700 new samples, but still no match. Fucking fucked.
They're at almost 4,000 samples at this point they've tried, and nothing. That is insane.
I know. So by February, it's been 25 days since Brianna's disappearance. Still no arrest. The snow was starting to melt in Reno, and a man was on his lunch break and taking a short cut across a field in an industrial park in South Reno when he came upon a body. So he calls the police. This field is about 10 miles from KT's house, and police are able to positively ID that it is, in fact, Brianna Denison. Her cause of death was strangulation. Under Brianna's body were 2 pairs of thong underwear, one pink and one black. And it was determined that neither pair belonged to Brianna.
Oh my God, did they belong to these other women that were raped?
Well, the black pair of underwear belonged to KT.
Did he?
I think he went into her room while she was sleeping.
No. I mean, he could have gone into the laundry room, right?
But remember, KT was the one sleeping right next to the living room.
But she locks her door, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's fucking spooky. Or he had cased the house out once already.
And
I don't know.
had been in there already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's so fucking spooky. So the strangulation was the elastic part that goes around your waist of the pink pair matched the ligatures marks on Brianna's neck.
He strangled her with underwear?
Yeah, and then put it under her body.
What?
Yeah. He's a piece of shit. So weeks go by, still no arrest. So the police finally released the information about the underwear found with Brianna. Because the nature of the crime, police also decide to visit the Bunny Ranch about 30 miles from KT's house.
Uh-huh.
And one of the women who worked at the ranch told the police about a regular client who seemed to fit the profile. This woman said that he had tried to choke her more than once during a visit. So while under surveillance, police ask this woman to contact that customer and see if he will come back. So he does. He comes back and he has a visit. And when he leaves, the woman gives police the condom that they used along with the glass that he drank out of while he was there. And they sent that to the DNA crime lab, but it wasn't a match to the killer either.
Oh my God.
Also, the moral of the story here is that this is how many fucking piece of shit men there are that are just...
Oh, by the way, this guy might be a rapist and a murderer.
Oh, no, not the one. I mean, he still choked me out, but not who we're looking for. Some other piece of shit.
I mean...
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so 10 months into the investigation, in November of 2008, one of the detectives is going through another list of tips, and one of the tips strikes him as odd. So this tip was a woman who had found someone else's thong underwear in her boyfriend's truck.
Is it a Tacoma?
I don't know. It totally reminded me of Overboard. The movie Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Which we were literally referencing before we turned on this podcast. Yeah.
She doesn't realize it's her underwear.
Oh,
I
right.
mean, that movie is very problematic.
So problematic. Oh. I mean, I know when we were kids, we loved that movie, but as grown women, it's like, oh no, this is bad. Bad news.
Yeah. You're pretending. Yeah.
It's so bad. But anyway, she had amnesia.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Her underwear was in her. Yeah. Anyway. So this boyfriend is James Bila. Police pulled up the driver's license photo of Bila and compared it to the composite sketch, and it was fucking eerie how similar it was.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, the detectives go out to James Bila's house, but he wasn't home. So he left his card with a note on the back asking James to call him. I mean, hey, I'm a homicide detective. Call me. Right?
Right.
No.
Look,
call me.
Look, I've never, nor will I ever, I mean, knock on wood, have a reason to or ever be like someone who's killed another human being. But even if I wouldn't call back a homicide detective, you know, like why would I call you?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Nope, well, I'm good.
Our boy James here, he calls back about 45 minutes later.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's one of those.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the detective told him that he wanted to talk to him and about an investigation, and Bila agreed to meet with him after work the next day. And Bila never asked what he was investigating, which the detective thought was odd.
That is odd. That would literally be my first question. Like, what is this concerning exactly?
And how did you get my name?
Right.
Why are you contacting me?
Why? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Detective Adam Wignancy, which I love that name.
I'm sorry, what? Wignancy?
Wignancy.
With a G.
Wig, like a hairpiece.
Yes.
Nancy, like don't be
like
such
a Nancy pants. Okay.
Yeah. He agrees to meet James Bila in a Wendy's parking lot. He actually showed up and got the detective. He got into Detective Wood Nancy's car. And when the detective shook his hand, the detective took note of his meaty fingers.
Oh my God.
Man. So they engage in small talk for a minute, and as soon as the detective told him that he was investigating the murder of Brianna Denison, Bila's mood completely changed. Like,
What did he think he was doing there? I know.
I don't know.
What a fucking idiot.
This guy is so fucking dumb. Yeah. So he had like beads of sweat on his forehead. Like it was super obvious, right?
Did Wig Nancy just mop that up for DNA samples, or?
Well, no, he tried.
I would have been like,
Wig...
here, use my handkerchief.
You've got a glow. Did Wig Nancy? No. Wig Nancy is like, oh, hey, BT Dubs, I just need a quick swab. And James is like, no.
No. Oh,
No,
now he
no.
says no. Now he's uncooperative. What?
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
And
hate
then
him.
James tells the detectives, he's like, you can just call my girlfriend because she'll give me an alibi.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
You mean
But
the
when
same
they talk-
girlfriend that called in the tip?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
said, my
This guy
boyfriend
is...
might be your murderer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kudos to this girlfriend, though, for playing it cool.
Was she still his girlfriend at this point?
Yes.
Okay, that's concerning.
I mean, it is, but yeah, it gets real sad with her. It gets real fucking sad.
Oh.
So he's like, yeah, give her a call. We'll be all squared up. But they talk to the girlfriend. Not only does she not give him an alibi, but she tells them that she found another pair of women's underwear in his truck.
Oh, no. He's been at it.
Yeah. So Wig Nancy remembers that one of the second victim there said that she saw a baby shoe in the truck. And so he asks the girlfriend if she has a child. And she says yes, that her and James have a 4-year-old son. And so she agrees to give the detectives a sample of her son's DNA.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. Good enough.
Uh-huh.
Good enough.
Yep. So during those few weeks that it would take for the results to come back from the lab, they're keeping a real close eye on James Bila.
Fuck yeah, they are.
Digging. Mm-hmm. They do some digging into his background. He lived just a few blocks from where the crimes had taken place. He worked in construction, and he regularly frequented the local bar close to his house. He had a high school education and nothing further, which was sort of like the profile that they suspected was their person,
Sure. I mean, I have my own opinions or feelings about profiles, but
profiling. I mean,
yeah, it's like it's, to me it borders lines on like astrology. It's like they work in a trade or possibly an office. You know what I mean? It's always just like vague enough.
Or possibly an office.
You know what I mean?
I think some things can be concluded. Like I've heard of crimes where like knots are used that are very like, okay, this is like a fisherman's knot.
Yes.
Or things like that. But just like a general, like this kind of profiling is like, no, I mean.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, whatever. I'm with you. But nonetheless, here we are.
He fit the profile.
He fit the profile. So they bring James's girlfriend in for more questioning, and they learned that she worked in the industrial park next to the field where Brianna was found. And she said the day that the police were there and had discovered the body, she was looking out her office window and watching all this. And she even called James and was freaking out a little bit. And she was like, I think they just found that girl's body like right outside my office. And she said that James just went real quiet on the phone. Soup sus. And right after he hung up.
Why is she still with him? I keep
okay,
going.
you know what? I mean,
Yeah. Well, we'll
No,
circle back
you know
to
what?
that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right after he hung up the phone, detectives learned that he told his boss that he was quitting. But when he got home that night, he told his girlfriend that he had been laid off. So he is freaking out.
The day that they found the body, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The next day, he left town and sold his pickup truck.
Well, this was like in February. How long after that did they get this? Did they decide to follow up on that? It was, you said it was like 10 months later. So it's like, yeah. This was, how long was he without, so he sold the truck and left town, but then he came back.
He was gone for 8 months.
Oh.
Yeah. And her tip was from the original stack of tips.
Like the very beginning of the case in like January.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened in their relationship, if he just like reappeared and was like, hey, I'm back from my 8-month trip. And, like, yeah.
Or if they were in contact during that time, was he sending her money for the kid?
I don't know. But he returned 8 months later with a new truck.
Oh.
So the DNA results come back from their son, and it confirmed that James was their guy. The next day, detectives arrest him outside of his son's daycare when he went there to pick him up.
Oh.
He is charged with kidnapping, 3 counts of sexual assault, and murder. At the station, he refuses to talk. And they call Brianna's mom, Bridget, and tell her that an arrest has been made. And they also called James's girlfriend and told her the results of the DNA test. So when the girlfriend learned about the results, she said she wanted to come down to the station and speak to him face to face.
Speak to him? I want to do more than speak to him.
Oh my God. It's devastating. So obviously they're in an interrogation room. So there's cameras and audio in there, and she is sobbing, and she is like, please tell me you did not do this.
Oh my God. I'd be like, hold my hoops.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You ever had a stiletto to the neck, motherfucker?
Right.
And so she's asking him, and he refuses to answer her. Yeah.
But they let her go in there and talk to him. Oh, they probably wanted to do. They were like, "Oh yeah, no, you go in there and talk to him. It's fine. We'll be the cameras will be rolling."
Yep. Yeah. It's so sad. She is sobbing, and she's just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This is who you are? Are you fucking kidding me?" Yeah, it's devastating. So obviously, while he's under
she
arrest,
has a kid with this guy.
It's that thing too of like, I don't know. I just, sometimes you just don't know someone. Obviously she had suspicions enough to call it in, but like, I don't know exactly what that feels like. I hope I never do, but I've had moments where I've felt like, like, can this be? And then it's like, I almost like, okay, Amber, calm down, not with a crime, but with like cheating or with like dishonesty, where you're like,
I mean,
you can really get yourself worked up.
Yeah. But like, also, if this is who he was, who knows what their dynamic was in their relationship, how abusive he was, how he was with her when they had sex. Like, did he strangle her? And you know what I mean? Did he, what I mean? Like there was probably some psychological abuse going on there. He sounds like a real fucking piece of shit. So
he is. So yeah, they obviously swab his DNA while he's under arrest, and it's a perfect match. So after 3 weeks of testimony, the jury reached a verdict of guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to death.
Ooh, they have the death penalty in Nevada.
Yeah, that's my fucking terrible case. Of Brianna Denison. I can't imagine sleeping on the couch and having someone see you and come in, or, oh my God.
I really wonder, about that 8 months that he was gone, because this is somebody who has escalated, right? So it started out as like an assault, and then it was like a kidnap assault, and then it was like a kidnap assault and murder. Right. And so like he was gone for 8 months. Where did he go? Did he commit other crimes while he was gone? Like guys like this are they're compelled. They like once they get to that, right. They need to up the stakes. They want to keep doing it. There's that whole, like, there's some stuff that we do know, right? That is kind of there's patterns that emerge in these types of people that are all kind of very similar. That's that whole like cooling down period. And then I need, it's like you could skate by on the fantasy of reliving the last one for only so long before you need to do it again so that you can like feel the way you felt again. Right. And like this guy was on his way to being a serial killer.
For sure. I would hope that they did some looking into where he was during that time and if there were any unsolved rapes or murders in those areas. I mean, God, fuck, man. I can't. The poor girlfriend and Brianna's I just can't.
No, it's just, it's all so much.
It's so much. I can't. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I think, good
that is
for
some
her.
Brazen fucking shit too. Just that we talked about this last time. Going into someone's house.
I know.
Well, there's multiple people there. Like,
yeah,
that is a level of crazy that I cannot even wrap my head around.
Me too. And
those
it's
are the
just
dangerous
like,
ones.
They are. Those people are totally fearless.
Yep.
And those are the people that, scared the shit out of me. Yes.
Yeah,
agreed.
100%. 100%.
Right.
Well, wow. Sister, that was not the case that I thought it was. I thought you were going to tell me the story about the one where the gal finally found the campus rapist after she looked him in the eye when he checked her out at the grocery store. Do you know that one? Oh.
No, but I need to.
Yeah, that one's crazy. I feel like I watched it recently on like a cold case. No, on a Unsolved Mystery. Like, I don't remember which one it was. One of those shows. I watched too many of them.
Can you do that for your next crime? Because I want to know all about it from your telling of it.
I'll look into it. If I can track it back down, I will put it on my list. But today I'm going to tell you a real bummer chaos story. I'm going to start out right at the top, giving a shout out to The Dollop. And if you haven't listened to The Dollop, or any of your listeners haven't listened to The Dollop, well, let's just say shouting out The Dollop is like shouting out, NPR at this point, because they're huge. Their podcast is very well loved and listened to, and they're big time and they're hilarious. And they consider they're like history comedy.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And it's a similar format. They got the one guy, Dave, who tells the story, and Gareth, who is the comedian who reacts and responds, and they're hilarious. But anyway, so this is the first time I heard the story was there. I didn't go back and listen to it. I went and found my info from Smithsonian, which I get a lot of good stuff. The Smithsonian is an excellent website.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. So this is the story of the Essex. Have you ever heard of the Essex?
No.
Okay, so how about this? Have you ever heard of a book called Moby Dick?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, of course you have. Who hasn't heard of it? It's a classic, right? It's one of the most
I've seen Pinocchio.
Right? It's one of the most famous books ever written. Yes. Mm-hmm. So if you've never read it, you at least know kind of the basic premise, right? Some dude is hunting a giant white whale, and that's mostly the whole thing. I mean, there's more, of course, and it has some sort of important meaning or some shit. But basically, Captain Ahab is obsessed with killing this giant whale and will not relent until he has won. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you know that Moby Dick was inspired by a true, much crazier set of events?
No, I did not.
Okay. So the author of Moby Dick is Herman Melville, and he had, by chance, encountered Captain George Pollard Jr. when the captain was a very old man. And once he heard Pollard's tale, he was inspired to write his book. But his book was a light romp in comparison to what Pollard had been through.
Okay.
Captain Pollard was 29 years old in August of 1819 when the Essex, an 87-foot-long vessel, set sail from Nantucket on a whaling voyage. So, this was meant to be a 2.5-year expedition. This is how they did it. Mm-hmm. 2 days after it left port, it was hit by a violent storm that destroyed one of its sails and nearly sank it. But they sailed on, and 5 weeks later, they made it to Cape Horn, which is, the very southern tip of South America where the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean meet.
Okay.
The 20-man crew of the Essex found those waters to be all fished out, so they decided what they should do is set out for the South Pacific, far, far away from any land, and go looking for whales. In order to do this, they would need to stock up, and the closest place to do that was Charles Island in the Galapagos, which I'm pretty sure is named for Charles Darwin, since the Galapagos are famously where he spent his time working on his theory of evolution. The Galapagos are known for containing a huge number of animal species not found anywhere else on Earth. It's a pretty special place. In fact, like, lots of scientists still go and study the animal life on the Galapagos Islands to this day.
Right.
And one of the fools on the Essex decided to light a fire as a joke.
Oh, no.
And it was the dry season.
Oh, God.
And this fire spread, well, like wildfire, and the crew barely made it off the island, having to run through the fire to escape. And a day later, when they looked back as they were sailing away, they looked back on the island and they could still see smoke.
Oh, my God. Fucking idiots.
Years later, the island was still a blackened wasteland, and it is believed that the fire wiped out both the Floriana tortoise and the Floriana mockingbird.
Oh, no. Fuckers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this is where we're starting. So from what I can gather, and I am not a boat person, and these are like old-timey sailing boats, right? There are smaller boats on the Essex for the whaling. So the crew drops these smaller boats, right? Gets into these smaller boats, and they use these smaller boats to go out and harpoon the whales.
Okay.
And then once they would get the harpoon in the whale, sometimes the whale would like pull them as it was like still alive, trying to get away. Yeah. And then the boats would get dragged way out away from the Essex, and they called these Nantucket sleigh rides.
Oh, that's kind of dark.
Yeah, it's really disgusting.
Okay, great.
So in November of 1820, over a year after they set out, and 1,000 miles from any land, the whaling boats were all out looking to harpoon some whales, and there was only one crew member, Owen Chase, the 23-year-old first mate, holding down the fort on the Essex. So he's on the Essex all by himself. Everybody else is out in whaling boats looking for whales. He stayed back to make some repairs or whatever. So he looks out and he sees a really big whale just chilling quite a ways out, facing the ship.
Oh.
And Chase guesses the whale is about 85 feet long, which is basically the length of the Essex.
Holy shit. Whoa. And he's just by himself, like, how do I reel this fucker in?
So it spouts 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then starts coming straight at the ship. Chase says it was going about 3 knots, which is about 3 miles an hour.
Oh, no.
The whale goes underneath the ship and starts thrashing about. And it puts a hole in the Essex. And then the whale disappears. So some of the crew have arrived back at the ship by this time, and they are frantically trying to deal with this hole, getting the pumps out, getting them working. And then someone yells that he sees the whale, and it is headed for them again. This time, faster. Maybe 6 knots, so like 7 miles an hour. And this time, it hits the boat head on, and it breaks another hole in the ship. This fucking whale had been watching them, right? Like, this is the way I would see it. Like, a lot of people see it. This whale had been watching them.
Uh-huh. This is whale retaliation is what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Fuckers. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So now
I love it.
The crew is lowering the boats, and they're just grabbing all the supplies that they can before the Essex sinks. The ship is done. Pollard is still out a ways in one of the whaling boats, and he sees from a distance that there's some shit going on, right? And so he heads back, and when he gets there, he asks Chase, like, what the fuck? And his first mate tells him, we have been stove by a whale.
Yes, you have.
Another one of the whaling boats returns, and they all just sit there in the whaling boats watching the Essex sink. unwilling to abandon the ship and basically just not grasping the seriousness of the situation.
Just staring like, oh.
Denial was just running rampant here, okay? There were 3 whaling boats containing 20 men. Pollard wanted to sail for the Marquesa Island or the Society Islands because he thought that was the closest land. But his crew said, no way, Gway.
No way, Gway. Exactly.
Those islands are full of cannibals. We need to sail south. While land in that direction was further away, they were banking on a good, strong wind to carry them there, and the chance that another whaling ship might happen upon them and help them out. For the record, there were persistent rumors of cannibals on those other closer islands, but traders had been visiting there for years without being eaten. Anyway. This trip started off bad and only got worse.
Clearly.
The bread they managed to salvage was saturated with salt water, so they all started to dehydrate as they ate their daily rations.
Ugh, gross.
They're all being beaten down by a ravaging sun. Pollard's boat was attacked by an orca.
What the fuck?
Pollard and the whales, man. The whales are after him.
And the whales are winning.
2 more weeks after the orca incident, they do spot land. It is Henderson Island. So they make their way to it, but it's barren. There is nothing really there for them. And a week after that, the men are like, they're starting to run out of supplies. So they decide to get back in the boats and keep going. But 3 of the men said, no, we're going to take our chances on this barren fucking island. We're not getting back in those boats. So they stay on Henderson Island while the rest of them get back in the boats and keep going. No one bothered trying to convince the other 3 to come with them because that meant that there was more of their ever dwindling supplies that they didn't have to share with as many people.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, that's great. You guys stay right there.
More ocean-soaked bread for me.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes. So now it's mid-December. They've been at sea in these whaling boats for weeks, and the boats are taking on water. And more whales are menacing these men at night. January comes, and they're almost completely out of supplies. On Chase's boat, one of the men lost his shit. He just stood up, started demanding a dinner napkin and water, and then fell down, went into convulsions, and died the next morning.
Oh, my God.
And in the words of Marcus from last podcast on the left, that's when the cannibalism started.
That's in their intro.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
He also had to say it one time when they did the story about the Donner Party, and he was pissed that he had to say it. He had to say it, and the other 2 were laughing their asses off. So they cut that man up into pieces. They opened him up. They cut out his heart. They sewed him back up, threw him into the ocean, and roasted his organs on a flat stone.
Oh, God. Okay. I mean, what are you going to do? What else are you going to do?
As the weeks went on, 3 more men died. And they were all cooked and eaten.
Yeah, let's not stop at Cannibal Island, though, because that's fucking gross.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the boats basically disappeared. I think it just drifted. They were drifting apart from each other, and one just drifted out. They just kind of lost track of it, and it was gone. So then Chase, and that was then Chase, right? The first mate had one of the boats, and the Captain Pollard had another of the boats, and their boats drifted apart, and they lost sight of each other. And the human meat was not enough to really satiate the men, and the more they ate, the hungrier they felt. And all the men became too weak to talk.
Oh, God.
The 4 men on Pollard's boat were like, look, we're going to die without more food. And so on February 6, 1821, 9 weeks after the Essex was toasted, Charles Ramsdell, a teenager, proposed they draw lots to see who would be eaten next.
Jesus Christ. I can't even imagine.
This is apparently some custom of the sea dating back to the first half of the 1600s.
What?
Yes.
This is a thing.
This is a thing.
Okay, great.
So all the dudes in Pollard's boat were like, yeah, we should do that. And young Owen Coffin, the captain's cousin, got the short straw.
Oh, no.
The captain was really upset. Pollard had promised Owen's mom that he'd look after her son. So he told Owen he would shoot the first man to lay hands on him. And dude, this kid was like, nah, it's cool, cuz it's going to be one of us. May as well be me.
He volunteers as tribute? Jesus Christ.
Because he drew the short straw. So they shot him and they ate him.
Oh my God. Wow. How do you explain that to Mom?
No, you don't.
No. Well, we got hungry, so sorry about it. What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
So 12 days later, on February 18th, the last 3 men on Chase's boat spotted a sail and managed to flag down the passing ship called Indian, and they were rescued. By this time, Captain Pollard and that Ramsdale dude who started the drawing of straws for eating each other were the only 2 left on that boat, and they were 300 miles away from Chase's ship. So the first mate was way far away from them. All they had left to eat was the marrow from the crushed bones of their crewmates turned dinner. They were losing their minds. They stared at the bones on the floor of the ship like obsessed with them. So almost a week after Chase's boat was rescued, the ship Dauphin, I think is how you say it, discovers Pollard and Ramsdale and saves them. But they are so out of their goddamn minds, they did not rejoice at their salvation. They turned to look at the bottom of the boat and started stuffing the bones in their pockets.
Oh.
And once they were safely on the Dauphin, they were seen sucking the bones they had brought with them and would not let anyone take them away.
Oh my God, like dogs.
Yeah. So the 5 surviving men were reunited in Valparaiso. It's a coastal city in Chile. They recuperated there before sailing back to Nantucket. But one night, after Pollard had recovered enough, he joined a group of captains for dinner. And he told the whole story, which one of them promptly wrote down as soon as he returned to his room. He had never heard anything so distressing in his life.
Shit, no kidding. I haven't either.
Years later, the 3rd boat that had drifted away and disappeared was found on Ducie Island, which is basically a tiny island in the middle of the South Pacific. There were 3 skeletons on board.
Oh, no.
In an even crazier twist, the 3 dudes who decided to stay on the, quote, barren Henderson Island survived for almost 4 months on shellfish and bird eggs and were rescued by an Australian ship.
Oh, my God.
They never had to eat people.
No, they didn't have to eat people and stare at bones. Oh, my God. For me, first off, I think that the idea, the whole thing of being out at sea and not all that is spooky. If I see land, I don't care if it's fucking barren. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Honey pea.
So when the survivors get back to Nantucket, they're received mostly without judgment. It was a dire situation, and it is kind of a thing at sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although most declined to actually eat their crewmates and instead use their dead flesh as bait for fish, it was well understood that the waters they were in were basically without any fish to be found.
Oh, God.
Well, not all the survivors were without judgment. Captain Pollard did eat his own cousin.
Oh, God. Owen, the kid he was supposed to look after?
Yes.
First he tries to say, like, I got your back, Jack, and then he eats him?
Yeah. So years later, a scholar would refer to it as gastronomical incest.
Oh, God. What?
Owen's mom would not even be in Pollard's presence. He spent the rest of his life in Nantucket, and once a year on the anniversary of the sinking of the Essex, he would lock himself away for the day and fast in honor of his lost crewmen.
Wow. I mean, fuck. Jesus Christ, sister.
That is the story of the Essex, the inspiration for the classic novel Moby Dick.
Holy shit, sister. Well, that was dark. Okay. Fuck. He ate his family member.
Yeah, along with other people that he ate.
But his position changed real quick, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, hysteria. When you're fucking hungry and losing it, I cannot
imagine. Nope, cannot imagine.
I can't imagine, and I can't make any kind of judgment about what you do or don't do in that. I mean, that's, oh man. Dehydrated and starving and all the things. It's like, fuck, who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That was a good one.
Thanks,
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, thank you. Wow. Jesus Christ. Well, fuck. Oh, I wanted to give another shout out to another podcast that I just discovered, and I'm loving it. I just wanted to do that really quick, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's called Invisible Choir. It's quite good.
Listened to that. I listened to Invisible Choir. That guy used to work on Sword and Scale, and since we don't listen to Sword and Scale anymore because that guy is awful.
That guy sucks.
Yeah. I like Invisible Choir because it has the feeling of listening to Sword and Scale without actually supporting an asshole.
Yeah. The host is quite good. Very good storyteller, and
really good storyteller. And he's good. He does he's done quite a few kind of he's spotlighted a few missing murdered Indigenous women stories. Like he's good about sharing stories that don't always get shared. So he does a good job. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Well, sister,
some stuff for the good of the order.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, hey, you can follow Crime, Wine, and Chaos on all the socials now.
Yes. Yes.
So
thank you to you for that.
You're on the Facebook, you're on the Insta, you're on the Twitters. Hey, if you like this show, you can give it a star rating, and you can give it a review. You can give it a recommend to your friends. All of those things are awesome. If you want to hear more ramblings from me, you can find me on the Twitters at Misnomers, MISSGNOMERS. And is that all the things, Sissy? Oh, if you want to send us hate mail, you can send us hate mail at Gmail. crimewineandchaos@gmail.com. Yep. We'll even read your hate mail.
We will. We sure will. We'll embrace it. Fuck. Thank you for all that.
I mean, I would say this was a good time. I mean, it's always a good time spending time with you, but man, that was a bummer. That was a bummer. Back to back.
It was a real bummer. Mm-hmm. All right.
Good times. But it was also chaotic.
Yeah, it was. Bye. Love you. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Crime, Wine, and Chaos. The podcast art was done by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. You can find us on Facebook at Crime, Wine, and Chaos, on Instagram at Crime, Wine, and Chaos Pod, or check out our website at crimewineandchaos.com. Cheers.